They are flat and about the size of an apple seed, and they can be found anywhere. And I mean anywhere. And unlike spiders, they actually love to come out at night and bite.
They hide in cracks and crevices. But once that light is turned off, they love a good cuddle and a snuggle because, like Kara said, it's time to feed.
These little buggers are a bit trickier, as they can hitch a ride home with you in your suitcase or even on your clothes. But they really just want to be with you warm in your bed. So don't let the bed bugs bite, literally.
Oh, gross. The drama's about to end, 'cause gross. Stop asking for a friend, taboos. Icky's what we do, it's just science. Yeah, it's not so weird. Your gross out journey starts right here on Oh, Gross.
Since we're going to be talking about bed bugs today, I have to tell y'all a story about a couple girlfriends who last year called me after they went on a trip to Charleston and they stayed in one of the vacation rentals. And as they were driving home, they said, well, we noticed last night that we started itching really bad. And we noticed this morning that we've got trails on our legs and on our body. So what do you think it is? What do you think we should do? I said, well, to me, it sounds like bed bugs. The way you're describing these things, it sounds like bed bugs. What I would do is when you get home, you need to immediately make sure you drive into your garage. You do not bring your suitcase or anything else into the home, and you need to strip all of your clothes off and go ahead.
Naked in the garage.
Naked in the garage. I told them you have to be naked in the garage, and you need to take your clothes upstairs immediately and put them into the washer on the highest heat possible. But do not bring anything else into the house except if you're bringing clothes in to wash. Don't bring your suitcases. Don't bring anything else in. So that's what they did. They did discover that it was bed bugs. I mean, it was pretty terrifying when I got that phone call.
Did they? And the big question is: so if they followed protocol and they stripped down naked in their garage,
They did. They
did. And did the bed bugs ever come into their home?
They did not. They had no more issues after that.
So that's good. So they literally did not bring the bed bugs into their homes.
They did not.
Don't be terrified, but just know you got to do something, right? Immediately.
You know, once we go over all of the bed bug information, you might question that, actually. Yes.
No, I'm already squirming.
You may have to strip down naked in your garage, but that's okay.
You might have to get naked, but
Yes. Don't bring them in your house.
So today we have on Bill Carlson. He is a scientist. He owns Nature's Innovation, and he actually manufactures numerous all-natural, non-toxic products, ranging from stuff for your skin, for bug bites, to manufacturing a bed bug product as well.
so he's the bed bug dude.
He's the bed bug guru. He is.
I love it.
Not only is he a dear friend, but he's so intelligent and he knows so much about so many things homeopathic and toxic too, because he's had to study a lot of toxic products to make the homeopathic products that he manufactures.
I'm excited.
Me too.
So Jenny and I have known and worked with Bill, I would say it's probably 10 plus years at this point. He actually helped us develop the Lice Ladies products.
And Bill's products are used to safely treat bed bugs, not only in residences all over the U.S., but also in hotels. So even businesses have used his products to get rid of bed bugs. So welcome, Bill Carlson. He is a scientist and an expert on bed bugs. We're excited to have him today.
Hey, guys.
Hey, Bill.
Hey.
Glad to join you.
So good to see your face.
Yes.
So nice to meet you, Bill. I've heard so much about you.
Nice to meet you as well.
And that was all good stuff, by the way.
yeah.
Everything that.
Yes.
Well, I'll let them be the judge of that. So that's okay.
Cannot wait to ask you everything bed bug.
Yes.
Well, we
So
got
many
plenty to
questions.
talk about. So
How did you start? Like, what was the moment where you're like, okay, bed bugs? I'm going to tackle that because I feel like bed bugs are everyone's fear. Like, it's one of the biggest fears. Someone says you can't get rid of them. It takes forever. Can you just tell us like how you ended up in the bed bug world?
well, this is like my third career in life. Next month, there'll be 22 years ago, I started, in this business industry, whatever, of homeopathics and natural solutions for all kinds of things. But before that, I just literally traveled the world, and I've personally experienced bed bugs.
Oh, no.
Sleeping at, $3 hostels in the 80s.
Yeah.
And thankfully, it didn't turn out like Hostel the movie.
Great movie.
I lived to tell the tale, but
My very first experience with bed bugs was also at a hostel in Spain when I was in college.
Were you at the same hostel at the same time?
Not in the 80s, guys. Okay. It was not in the 80s. It was in like 1998. But I remember because we had these little bites, and then somebody else had said like, there was like a bed bug outbreak here before, and it never crossed my mind that could happen.
They've been around for thousands of years and probably tens of thousands of years. So they're very good at what they do.
So basically they aren't going anywhere.
No.
I mean, we just need to figure out how to keep them away from us, but they're not going anywhere. They've been here for thousands of years.
They're not going anywhere. And what's happening is the same thing that's happening in the entomology world or whatever. Basically, every bug that's out there, and this is the same for bacteria and virus and everything, is they have what's called pesticide-resistant mutation.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So part of my passion, was to come up with solutions, that contradict that, because they can't be used to the things that, for instance, what's in the Lice Ladies products, they basically can't be immune to it.
Just for people who don't understand, if you're using the same pesticide over and over again, they're basically evolving, right? And understanding how to ditch out of it. And what you do is you take and figure out almost like a new natural formula to sort of treat them that they aren't used to.
Correct. And they can't really be resistant to it. 'Cause first of all, it's not used I'm not saying one day, 200 years from now, there won't be resistant maybe to some of these more natural things because it has potential. But you take things like pyrethrins, permethrins, these chemical things that back in the day, DDT, all of them made them more resistant to other pesticides in those families. I don't knock traditional medicine and I don't knock traditional pesticides. There is a use and a reason for some of these things, but I just prefer a more natural route if it's going to be just as effective. And in a lot of cases, more effective. And the more effective part is they don't have pesticide resistant mutation to a lot of these things.
It seems to be like bed bugs are that one thing for sure that are almost everywhere, correct?
Yeah,
like there's
no socioeconomic barrier. Sure, you're going to see it in dirtier places, but it really has nothing to do with that. You could be in a 5-star resort. I won't name any, but I've spent later in life a lot more time in those than the hostels. But I think it was last January sometime, there's this big resurgence of bed bugs like in Paris. During the Olympics, so anywhere there's concentrations of lots of people and there's plenty of food out there for them. So, and then you can bring them back home with you, if you're not careful. Mm-hmm. Now, I haven't experienced that, but I've experienced it in places I've stayed where I've had the bites and then looking through the bed and it's like, oh, wow, okay, we're not staying here tonight.
So what you're saying is after this episode, we're all going to be checking out of a lot of hotel rooms?
Basically, it's something you should look for in a hotel when you check in. It's pretty easy as far as just pulling back the sheets and looking for brown stains, which is the fecal matter. So
I need a little clarification on the brown stain because I've also stayed in hotels where I've pulled back the sheets and there's been a brown stain and it wasn't tiny.
The stains are blood stains. And it's about that color, that's what you're looking for because that's when they overgorge or whatever, then that's their fecal matter that's left over. But basically, the corners, that's pulling up the ends of the sheets of the bottom of the bed.
So Bill walks into a hotel room. I want him to walk through what he does. He opens the door. Tell me what you do. I
carefully open the door and see if there's any bed bugs peeking around me at the corner. Say, okay, see you guys later. But basically, I go in, I immediately go pull back the bottom edge of the sheets, pull it all the way back, all of it out, out that far, and take a look for any fecal matter, any weird dark spots or black flakes or flecks or anything in there. If there's anything that doesn't look just like a clean bed sheet. And then I have gone into hotels where I didn't see bed bugs, but I saw other flecks of junk or whatever in there. It's like, no, I'm not. I asked for another room. It was fine. Whether they had a bed bug problem or not, I don't know.
So going back, so they're clear. You can see through them. And the only reason you can see them is because they've overstuffed themselves on our blood and they're filled with poop now. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah. You got that pretty, accurately.
It's kind of like lice. They get darker as they feed because they're feeding on blood. So
little
if they're
vampires.
hungry, they're more clear. But if they're well fed, they look red or kind of brown, similar to a louse.
Yes.
You have to be careful in a hotel room, right, Bill, where you put your suitcase and stuff like that, because they can be on the chair and the carpet, in the little cracks of the bed frame, in the nightstand.
They can
books.
they're very thin also. You know how thin a tick can be before it feeds. You know, they can be even thinner than that. I will open my bag up on the rack, and they're not going to go up on the rack looking for through your stuff. There's no heat source there. And then if you're going to put your bag on the bed, don't leave it there for long, you know? So I'm packing, I'll put it on the bed, and then I, put it down and zip it up. And if you're really paranoid about it, then you would, so let's say you're somewhere you have to stay there and you just zip up your bag, get out what you need and zip it up.
Absolutely.
But I'm not crazy about it,
But you don't put the suitcase on the bed ever. You don't put it on the floor.
I do, but not for long.
Okay.
Right, you can see them during the day, but it's pretty rare. They're more nocturnal. Now, if you pull back the sheets, you can see them. So
And do I have to lift up the mattress? Like if I don't see them in the corners of the sheets, like someone would, like, should you?
You can lift up the mattress. I've seen them inside the edges of the where they bind the mattress. Inside those edges, I've seen it in there. I've seen the fecal matter in there. If there's enough of them in the bed, they could be at the head of the bed. And in entomology world, it's known that they could live up to a year without feeding, which is kind of crazy.
That is so scary.
And then do you spray little spritz, or you just like, I'm going to do my magic spray just in case?
I do. And that's where the last thing I do is just spray the perimeter around on the underside of the bed and around the bed feet. And that's, so far, knock on wood, that's worked out really well for me.
Do you spray when you get on a plane too, on your seat? Do you spray your seat down? You don't? Okay. So you're not.
I don't.
Okay.
I mean, isopropyl alcohol is another thing that at 92% is very powerful. Not the 70%, but 92% can be effective. And that's something
you can wipe your seat down with. And that's efficient.
That would be helpful because they probably go to the customer next to you rather than you.
Well, I mean, because I'm squirming, and I'm sure people listening are squirming, and I think it's good to know and important to reiterate that the great news is, like you said, bed bugs have been around for thousands of years, and we know what to do, as opposed to you have no idea. So if you wipe down your seat, if you are smart when you walk in your hotel room and you check.
If they're really bad, they could be even in the electric sockets of hotel rooms, and in a house or a place that has a lot of them, they kind of just spread out and can be anywhere.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you a story, and then I want you to break it down so everyone can understand what it is, okay? Like,
get ready, Bill. Get ready.
Okay.
Here we go.
So I interview people for a living, and I've been into a lot of homes and situations. So I have on more than one occasion been, maybe I was going to go interview someone who then lets us know they have bed bugs. And what we normally try to do is work with them to make sure that it's safe for the crew, that we're not, having an outbreak, and that we help them, take care of the situation, or, find out what they're going to do to take care of it. In one situation, we had a family where they had brought a company in to treat it, and the bugs were still there.
Mm-hmm.
We helped them find another company that did heat treatments. Mm-hmm. Okay. And then the person with the heat treatment called us and said, hey, we think they might be living in the wall of this one room. And there was also like a specific couch that was really the culprit. It was like a futon. So their recommendation to him was like, at this point, you might, if you can, get rid of the futon. It might be a good idea. And then let's try this heat treatment, which obviously they had to worry about their photos and all that kind of stuff and what could get heated. Is heat treatment the best course? Or like when you have a situation when you have a massive outbreak, can you kind of explain what probably or could have maybe happened?
Yeah, absolutely. Heat treatment is a great way to go. And in fact, on a personal level, we could get into the other sides of it, like your bedding, your any personal effects, anything that can go into a dryer and be heated, taking it through a regular wash and through heating in the dryer, as long as it gets above 105, 110 degrees, it's going to kill it. And what they do is they heat this house up to, in a lot of ways, if you're going to get to 110 degrees, it's got to be heated to 120, 130, 140, to penetrate everything. So yes, heat treatment is a very effective way to do that. And there's plenty of professional people that come in and do that.
All right, so just to be clear, this is not a do-it-yourself type of thing because it can be dangerous.
Right.
So tenting anything with a heater can obviously be a fire hazard. So you want to make sure you're calling a professional company to do that.
Yes, exactly. No, we are not telling people to heat anything up in their home on their own.
It's funny you talk about the futon. So anywhere you're going to get third-party furniture or those kinds of things, it's a good idea to either leave it in the garage for a month or, something in order to treat it before you bring it into your house, because it's in clothing and pretty much anything. Kids, toys, all kinds of different things has a potential for that.
I have something for you, Kara, that I want Bill to talk about.
Uh-oh.
I want to talk to you about the way that bedbugs mate. And I want Bill to tell me if this is right. Because I have known this for a while, but I really want to be sure this is true. So from what I understand, the male bedbug has a razor sharp penis, and he stabs the female in her abdomen.
What?
And he usually waits until she is engorged with blood so that she has a harder time fighting him off. And that's how they mate. Is that right, Bill?
Yes, it's absolutely right. I think it's called the cloaca, is the razor sharp penis. Yes, you guys it down correctly. And so they pierces, and also the engorged blood also ensures that she's going to have eggs. It basically
He just stabs her. Just stabs her.
Just stabs her, and because she's engorged with blood, also she can't fight it off. But it also ensures the success of the egg hatch. So that's part of the the entomology of it. Yeah, absolutely right. Yeah, it's kind of shocking, huh?
I've done a lot of murder stories, but not. That's so terrible. Bedbugs that's you know what? That's when they can live without food for a year. Because who would want to mate?
This is like its own real life Marcus Dunstan film.
Yeah, it's a horror film.
It's a horror film.
It's a total horror film. Oh.
Once he stabs her and he impregnates her, how many eggs can she lay at one time?
Let's talk
about that.
Anywhere from 10 to 30 or something like that. It's quite a few.
A day?
No, it's I think all at one time. And
okay.
Okay.
And then I believe that she, ends up dying after that process.
Oh my gosh.
They spawn very, very rapidly. If you don't get it under control and you think you have a problem, you need to hopefully figure it out pretty fast, because before you know it, you're going to have quite a few little ones running around. And this is how they can end up in your suitcase, or you bring them home or whatever, just that the quantity of them can multiply fairly quickly.
Just to clarify for me, now that I'm just in complete and utter horror. So when the whole lice thing happened and I freaked out in my house, Molly's like, don't worry. And Jenny's like, don't worry. They can't, live on a surface for longer than XYZ, So there was a 2-day panic. What you're basically telling me is if they can live without food for a year, that little bugger could be in my suitcase if it wanted to be for a while until it figures out how to get to a host.
It absolutely.
Depending on the environment. So if it's I imagine a warm or whatever,
And that does play a role in it. In the winter, just like most other insects, they're not as active, but they do have the ability to, they could be frozen and then brought back to life again, just like a lot of other things that go in stasis.
Cryo, Molly? There's bedbug cryo.
Yeah.
This is interesting to me, though, because this is a myth, I guess, because I always think and associate bedbugs with I guess it's the travel part but the holiday in the winter, but they're actually less active, you're saying, in the wintertime.
Yes.
So all the listeners right now who are freaked out and getting ready to go on their ski trips, don't worry, you're going on a ski trip. Right?
They're going to be slower there, but at the end of the day, you're coming to warm up the bed, and if that's going to create a little more activity, even at a ski resort or whatever. Now, outside of it, yeah, they're going to be, in stasis or not moving really. But in a 70-degree hotel room, that's perfect temperature for them. 65 degrees, fine.
And they want to find a place that's warm too, right? So
Yes.
if it's cold outside, like, in New York City or somewhere or Chicago, and there's a nice
Why did you
warm
have to say
hotel
Chicago?
room,
Because I'm going there.
just to see your face. But they're going to try to find a nice warm place or a nice warm bed. And that's where sleep tight, don't let the bed bugs bite actually comes from.
That's right.
Nope, my grandfather used to say that every night. Yeah.
So let's talk for a second about that. There's two ways that they, find you. One is by, of course, the heat from your body. They come to that. And they're also can feed on pets.
Oh.
Anything warm. And if there's rats in the wall and mice on the wall, that kind of thing, that's food for them. So
Are they trying to smell for blood along with
they
the warmth?
smell carbon dioxide. They smell your breath.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
Carbon
okay.
dioxide from your breath is the other way that they are attracted to you.
Rat breath.
Wow.
Okay,
Anybody,
okay.
anything
And they're
that
not
breath.
the only insect that's attracted to carbon dioxide. Bees,
Yep.
hone
But
in
spiders
on.
are not. We learned that.
Yeah.
Spiders are not.
Spiders are not. Yes, we did learn that.
I got to watch a spider episode.
Yeah. It's good. It's a good one. It's good like this. So they're attracted to your breath and they're attracted to the warmth. Okay.
Correct.
If your
Yes.
breath is bad, will they not like you? Is there something you do to your breath to stop them from liking you?
I don't think so. Unfortunately, you're sending out the same carbon dioxide whether your breath
And you can't
is bad
get rid of
or
the
not.
carbon dioxide or
Sorry.
you're in trouble.
Right.
This is not an excuse to not brush your teeth, everyone.
Part of your body function.
Thank you. Thank
Good
you.
idea, though.
Just something to think about for the future for your scientific explorations.
So, Bill, when you are cleaning a house or cleaning out an apartment, if someone's trying to get rid of the infestation, they have to pay attention then to literally every single surface, every single thing, every single crack, even like cracks on the floor, books,
Outlets.
pictures,
He said outlets.
right? They can be literally anywhere.
I created the first bedbug product that we have like 18 years ago. And with every product, we send a little, brochure, like, the basics on what to do, a front and back. Nobody wants to read. That's okay. But the bottom line is, the protocol's pretty easy to look up on the internet. But basically, the cleaning part is the hardest part of all of it. And so some of the tools you can use, that don't include products are a vacuum cleaner.
Right.
Literally, pulling the head off the vacuum cleaner and going through the bed, flipping it over. You could use a mattress cover on it. You don't have to have an expensive mattress cover. It's helpful if it's breathable, but that's huge. And then steam. So like a steamer.
Oh.
And steam will kill them as well.
So you could steam
But
your
you need to
bed.
be thorough with it. So
Oh, okay.
first thing you do is vacuum really, really well. And then you take that vacuum bag and you throw it outside in a closed trash bag. And then you go over it with steam is highly recommended over the same exact areas. And this vacuuming process is every bit of your house, the outlet covers, it's extensive.
Your
And
drapes? Like drapes too? Curtains?
Drapes would be a good idea. Yeah.
Are they going to crawl out of a trash bag? So once
Yeah.
you empty the vacuum cleaner, can they crawl out of the trash bag?
Absolutely.
Okay, so we need to make sure that you
Tie
take the
it.
trash bag completely
And
out.
take it
Tie
outside.
it.
Now, are they going to come outside from inside from there? Probably not. But this is where when I come home from a trip, I put my bag outside, and a lot of times I'll just do the laundry, take the laundry out, put it in directly, and I just leave it out there. I'll leave it out there for 2 or 3 weeks or whatever. And, I've never had any problems bringing them back, and I've traveled a lot.
So that was my next question was clothes. If I am worried about bed bugs after travel and I throw my clothes into the laundry, is it the same? You just throw them in the dryer and, you're probably safe because of the heat from the dryer after you're done washing your clothes?
Yeah, and it's entirely possible that the washing alone is good enough, but the dryer definitely is the final, you're 100% certain they're dead at that point. It dehydrates them out. They can't live through that.
But if you have an infested home, and I'm just thinking about my closet, if you have an infested home, like, what do you recommend for people to do if they have a lot of clothes?
I can empathize with this one. I have a lot of travel clothes. So if you have a bed bug problem and your bedroom's right off where your wardrobe is, yeah, you got a lot of work to do if you've got a really bad problem. The likelihood of that, if you catch it early, isn't probably that bad. But there's certain moth infestations you get in your clothing. And
we can see the holes
moths.
and you know they're there.
Yeah, pantry moths, that's another one. Really difficult to get rid of once they're in your pantry. I've personally been through that several times. All you could do is look at it as a cleaning opportunity.
Right.
Right.
I have a big pantry and it's like, holy cow, I don't want to clean this out. But after you do it, you're like, oh, I need to do that for a long time.
which it happened to me. So I've cleaned a lot of things out of our house and kitchen after starting this podcast. It's been crazy and good. But so just bring it down to the basics though. The bed is probably ground zero, right? That's where it all starts. Yes. So they're not like ground zero is not your kitchen outlet.
Correct. Let me give you, more of a horrific scenario or something to think about.
And then you're going to tell us something positive.
This is me who's traveled over 7 million miles, is on airplanes. There are instances of bugs on airplanes and more than you think. So you're just sitting in the seat. So now you get the bed bug and it's in your pants or whatever. And, especially on a long haul flight, you could bring them home there. And it's something, most people don't think about, but it's something I've thought about. And there has been cases of it. I've never experienced it. So back to, your own bed. Yes, that's ground zero where you start. And hopefully it's just there, you catch it early enough. And so you can't really feel the bite. And one of the reasons you can't get these lines on you is as you move in your sleep, they just stop and start up again in the next spot. And that's where you can get these lines, or they're all in a same perimeter area. You've got these bites, unlike a flea bite where it's like random on your legs or whatever. And they also inject just like a mosquito injects an anesthetic when they bite you, they do the same thing.
I've been, I'm highly allergic, right? So mites, they're laughing because Molly, you get a lot of rashes too.
Kara's very paranoid about everything that happens to her.
I am, but I get it, but I have a really sensitive skin. So mites affect me because I have an allergic reaction,
Yeah.
How could I tell the difference between mite bites as opposed to bed bug bites?
The way they scab up is different. A bed bug bite generally doesn't scab up, but it does swell up, or it can swell up. But the bottom line is every person reacts a little bit differently. So it could just be a regular bite. And then it's been reported that some people don't have a histamine response at all, and it just could be like a red dot. So, but I think for the most part, you're going to have some form of histamine response, and just, they may welt up, really, really big, like that for each bite. It just depends on the person.
We've had patients come into our clinics and we've actually had to send them out because it was bed bug infestation, not lice. And it wasn't that they were living on the scalp, in their hair, but, they might have been sleeping and they got a couple bites on their scalp. Can they pretty much bite you anywhere on your body?
Yeah, it's easier on the exposed parts of your body. Depends on how much clothing you wear to bed, that kind of thing. They prefer that. It's just kind of like the easiest route. They can bite you anywhere. I think they're fairly lazy. It's not, about it. There are other, when you talk in the scabies realm and all that, there's mites that don't bite you above the neck, which are scabies. But then there's bird mites and rat mites that get in your eyes, your nasal cavity, your ears, that are transmutable from avian experience. So
Kara is terrified. Yeah. Look at her.
Yeah.
I'm gonna before we do that episode, I'm gonna need a moment of that when we talk about those.
Well, I started early on, like in 2003. The internet was still pretty young, and people would Google exactly what your podcast is about, gross stuff.
Right.
And when we would get a call from somebody for bed bugs, then they'd send a picture of, what the bite looked like, or I've spent thousands of hours talking to people on the phone, and it turned out that it was scabies or a bird mite or rat mite infestation. And some of those are really, really tough to get rid of. So the good news about bed bugs is, if you follow the protocol and really put in the work, and it will be work, a lot of black bagging stuff, and, narrowing things down, and the likelihood of them being elsewhere in the room is a lot less. I always give people advice. It doesn't have to include my products. There's bedbug traps, and it's not a sophisticated device that go on your bedposts.
Oh,
And so you put the foot of the bed there, and that way, if they're elsewhere in the room, they really can't crawl up there to get to you. And it's a way to kind of eliminate if you threw out your bed and you started from scratch in a bedroom and needed, you put the traps down.
Are they
and that
toxic
stops
or
that.
are they non-toxic or is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All the things I've seen over the years, and there's been a bunch. You could 3D print some of them. They're just all these different designs to put around it's almost like a coaster on the bottom of each bedpost.
Is there a way to repel them? I mean, are there things that bed bugs don't like that you can do to help yourself when you're traveling or you're worried at a hotel?
There is repellents, and I have a product that's for travel. I mean, it's like a 3-ounce travel spray, and that's primarily to kill it. It does have repellency, but the truth and this is about my product and, most others on the market, permethrin based, or, some of them have permethrin in them, that kind of thing. Ours are more essential oil based.
So pyrethrin or pyrethroids are actually very common professional strength insecticides that are used to treat bed bugs and other pests, sometimes like lice, but they've become resistant to them.
Right.
So what kind of essential oils will repel bed bugs or even exterminate them?
Our products have like peppermint oil and clove oil, and then there's a surfactant in there, like could be a sodium lauryl sulfate or any kind of soap, but you can make your own.
Oh.
Literally, it's not rocket science. We do have to follow from the natural perspective on EPA registrations, the 25B list. It's a fairly narrow list. There's other oils that work, but citronella, there's a tea tree oil, lavender, at a higher concentration, which smells pretty good. And you just add soap and water and a percentage of essential oil to it, and you've got your own natural bedbug killer. But the bottom line is we've perfected the percentage and gotten it to what exactly is going to work for it. Rutgers University has tested the product. We have Snell here has tested our products. And, so there's a lot of data to support it. And for me, that's important because you can put too much in there and it's going to irritate your skin, or you're never going to get the smell out, or, it could stain clothing or take the paint off of furniture or whatever. And so we've got the right percentages in there for all that doesn't do all that.
So with the natural products, do you spray them on yourself? Do you spray on the bed? Like, how do they work?
On the travel side, you would spray it around the bed perimeter and maybe at the edges of the bed or whatever. I've never personally felt compelled to spray myself with it. You could. I do think just some precautionary treatment around a hotel room, is all I do. And I think that's sufficient. I haven't, knock on wood, experienced anything.
And how do people know? So if they are looking for a essential oil-based product that's, safe and non-toxic to deal with bed bugs, what should they look for? Because as we learned with lice and almost everything we've talked about, there are some I don't want to say bad, but some products that don't really work as efficient as something like your product. So what can they look for as a consumer to sort of, have a gauge if something's going to be helpful for them or not?
The bottom line is it needs to be a legal product. So it either has to have an EPA registration number if it's an EPA product. If it's an EPA 25B product, it doesn't have a formal registration, but it has to meet all the requirements from the EPA to make those claims and then have testing data to back it up. And, there's a lot to that. And then some certifications like organic or OMRI, which is the Organic Materials Review Institute. And, there's different things that are, no animal testing, all those kind of things kind of help to legitimize a product. And then reviews,
If you have a bed bug outbreak in your home, or you think you might have, can you walk through the steps on what you first want to do?
First, you have a bed bug outbreak in the home. You're going to want to take all the sheets off carefully so you're not getting more on the floor, and immediately black bag them and take them outside until you decide, hey, I'm not going to throw this out, or leave it in the garage for a month, or if it's cold outside, leave it out there for, whatever. You're still going to need to wash it, but it definitely slow them down, but basically take off all the sheets and strip the entire bed. And then the vacuuming process starts. You really want to use a vacuum with a HEPA filter on it, because even, there's a possibility some of that could come out through a vacuum that's a non-HEPA based. after you're done with that vacuuming process, which is extremely thorough, and I've done it, it's physically demanding to tear the whole bed apart, take it, literally lay it on its side, doing all the sides, the box spring, everything, including the underside. A lot of times that piece of cloth underside is down where all the cats hide or whatever underneath it, and vacuuming out that whole thing. Also, you're taking care of dust mites. So that's a good thing, right? Getting less dust allergens in there.
Yes.
And then the base of the bed. And part of the thing is to also get the game plan, like what product am I going to use to spray the bedpost, bed frame, that whole part of it. And then, of course, completely vacuuming the whole room, all the edges of the entire room, outlets, and then consider your dressers and all that stuff. And it can be a lot, of effort. And then come back behind it with a spray product. And then, you might want to consider these if you're going to put the bed back together or buy a new mattress, get that out of there completely. If you're going to get the new mattress in, I highly recommend getting like a breathable air mattress cover that's high quality, and they're not cheap. They're $100 to $200 for one of those. But basically, encase the whole bed, and that should make the next step, if you have to do it again, a little bit easier. Then on the treatment side, the spraying, there's dust like diatomaceous earth that you can use that is based on little tiny diatoms that come from the Utah desert.
Ancient diatoms are ancient fossils that are from millions and millions of years ago. So some of the most early fossil evidence of algae and different things like that from like the late Jurassic period and before.
So how do diatoms tie into now then?
Well, diatomaceous earth is used in a lot of different pests, trying to get rid of them.
Tiny diatoms are like little tiny razors to these, to any kind of insect. And it slices them and then it dehydrates them. So there's a dust aspect if you want to do that. Not everybody is excited about putting dust everywhere in their house, and then you got to vacuum it up. It's something that you can use
so you
for
dust
fleas.
it through your house as if a spray.
You can, but it makes a mess.
It makes a mess, and you have to vacuum
it doesn't
it
go
up.
away. You've got to vacuum it back up, and there's an aspect to it, but it's not like I wouldn't coat the whole room in it in the dust part. And then you're going to just be monitoring. So if you use these bed kind of like coasters underneath the bedpost, that can help eliminate something, either keep them on the bed or off the bed. But that encasement's a big thing, because even if they're in the inside of the mattress, they can't get out. So that's a huge one.
Okay, so when calling an actual bug company to do the extermination for you, what are some tips you can give our listeners when they're trying to figure out which company to use?
I think you've got to really look through the reviews and, make sure they're legitimate from Google or whatever. It isn't cheap to call an exterminator out, and they may want to just come in and do heat. With heat, you may not have to do any of the vacuuming, although it's pretty gross to leave that in your bed bugs and the blood and stuff in on the mattress side and whatever. But they might just want to come in and do heat, but they charge a lot to do it. And sometimes they want to do the whole house, tent the entire house or do the whole house in heat. You can do it room by room if it's a smaller infestation. But this goes back to what I was going to tell you about apartments and hotels, is they go through the outlets from one to another. Fleas can do the same thing, cockroaches, lots of nasties come through in these apartment complexes and in hotels.
Through the outlets.
I think it's frustrating for the hotels because they might do a good job looking, but when they have a problem, it's like they got to treat the exponential size of the rooms there. So just be aware, like if you're in the house, it may be in your room, but it might be in your daughter's room next door as well, or the rooms attached to it. It's a living room, butt up to your bedroom. You really got to think it through. And, are they there and I just don't know it, or I don't ever fall asleep on the couch, but if I did, am I going to get bit? That kind of thing.
And do you repeat the process in a certain number of days?
Yes. The 7 to 10 day rule is generally, so you're going through a full life cycle, and you may have to do it a third time if you didn't get everything.
All right, here's the big question. We learned that spiders have a real purpose, right, in the ecosystem, and that don't be afraid of them, and that they're not going to bother us. We would all die if they were exterminated. Then we learned that lice have no purpose. And if they were all to die, we probably wouldn't be effective. Tell us about bed bugs. Do they have a purpose they serve?
Not that I know of. And and you're right about spiders. The whole planet would be infested with other, insects that would be taken over. And, there's lots of things there. There's also been, subjectivity about bed bugs and transmitting viruses and bacteria. I've not ever come across anything that's beneficial.
Well, bed bugs can carry viruses, but thankfully there's no evidence that any of the viruses transfer to humans.
And what about pets? Is there any evidence that like a virus can get transferred from a bed bug to a pet?
Actually, no, thank goodness.
Oh, great. So, Bill, my next question is for you then. With pets, if they're bitten by bed bugs, do we have to treat them in any way or do anything with their bedding?
Yeah, you wouldn't treat the pet per se, but you would wash the bedding and all that stuff and think about, what the sleeping situation is for them and definitely wash all that. And I would do that anyway, even if you didn't have them in that room. That's a good point about the pets.
Well, this has been fascinating and horrifying as usual. But I think
horrifying. Yes.
I think though there's a lot of hope in this episode. Yeah, because I think that at the end of the day, while there's some terrifying facts, really your whole business is bed bugs, and you travel the world, and you're not bringing bed bugs home every time you come home, right? And you've come across them, and you've just moved rooms or asked to be moved rooms, and you've seen them everywhere. You said from expensive hotels to hostels, right? So, and if you know what you're doing, you're going to be okay.
It's, not to scare anybody. It's honestly not for as many thousands of hotel rooms I've spent in all over the world, and high-end luxury resorts to, not so great motels. It's, whatever, the low end. I've seen some things that were questionable in all those categories. They don't care about filth and all that stuff. They're not attracted to that like a cockroach might be. They're attracted to you, and whether you're high end or bottom end doesn't matter.
Yeah, right. And you've never brought them home though. I mean, that's really important. I think
no.
The fact that you have traveled all these places and you've seen them, you've been at a place and you've gone, not this room. I'm a little nervous, move my room. And you still have never brought bed bugs home. And I think that's really important for people to hear.
And that's for almost 40 years of traveling.
Yes. I saw an article, I think it was back in 2006. It was Maya Rudolph sued because she moved into her condominium with her husband and her child, and they had a bed bug infestation, I believe it on the 3rd floor or something. And I know that was New York. Does it differ state to state on what your rights are with bed bugs and what might happen or what the repercussions can be?
Yes, it does vary. There are laws in different states. In some states, there's no laws at all. So it's kind of the Wild West there. But there are certain states that do have laws about a tenant and neighbors, in a condominium or apartment or even hotels that there's laws. And New York, where Maya Rudolph was, I'm familiar with that one a little bit. There's some laws there on the books that would allow for some of that litigation there with, between your neighbor and your condo. But it really depends on your state. So you'd have to, research that for your state.
So it's probably a good idea if you do find yourself in an infestation situation is to research the laws in your state and the circumstances.
Absolutely.
Oh, this has been awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and everything.
Well, thanks for having me.
Bye, Bill.
Yes, thank you, Bill.
Just so everyone knows, Bill's company is called Nature's Innovation, and you can find his products on their website at naturesinnovation.com.
But we're all hoping as we wrap up this episode that we'll never need bed bug products.
That's correct.
If you're not following us yet, what are you doing? Click follow right now, please. Thank you. And guess what? You'll never miss the icky and sticky solutions you need in life.
Next time you're scrolling, be sure to follow us at It's Oh Gross on Instagram, Facebook, X, TikTok, and YouTube to stay updated on all things Oh Gross.
Got a story? Share it at ohgross.com. Your laugh out loud moment might just make it on a future show. Catch us next Wednesday with a brand new episode.
Oh, gross. That drama's about to end, 'cause gross. Stop asking for a friend, taboos. Icky's what we do. Psoriasis, podiatrist, and pinworms too. It's so gross. No need for strife, because gross. Life is part of life, it's just science. Yeah, it's not so weird. We got the facts, nothing to fear. Oh, gross. It's just science, no, it's not weird. It's just science, nothing to fear. just science, so wipe those tears. It's boogers and rash and that sticky scratch. Oh, gross.